it's going to cook away and you're going to have big holes in the sausage. And those are going to explode and those are going to burn. You're going to have smoke coming out of your oven or on your grill especially. If you're grilling these, they'll burn, and they'll burn quickly. It's very flammable. All right, we'll just say that's 30% of our meat. Hey, everybody's with me so far, right? Now the fun part. Once you get to this stage, like I said, you can adapt it to any recipe because basically all we have is pork and fat. And I'm going to use another glove for this. Do you need your cutting board? Where I put them? Oh, thank you. No, Adam, I think this one should do. Now I'm going to mix. We're not going to eat this. We don't have the right sanitary conditions in here, but we're going to stuff it. So I made a pretend batch of seasoning up here, and I went with something with a lot of color to it. I went with a lot of paprika and a lot of chili powder, almost similar to a chorizo, because I just want you to see how the seasoning dissipates inside, and it spreads rather quickly, even when you're doing this by hand. Again, game meat, more fat. And it depends on what game. If you a moose or anything that's dark red, it's really easy to tell on the fat content. Now, I've only been doing this for about 45 seconds, and I'm actually kind of happy with it.
What happens if you don't? Is it possible to not get enough fat with the game meat?
Yeah, it'll be dry, it'll be nasty. It could be very gamey.
Okay.
Is there a good way to tell, like on how it looks or something we recognize?
Yeah. We could tell right away when it came out of the grinder. Yeah. The fat looked perfect. Take a bite after it's good.
Yeah.
Take a bite, and if it's dry and it's nasty, well, you just learned your lesson. Take that piece of paper out and write down, well, next time I'm going to use 10% more fat.
Can you judge that by weighing? Like,
oh, that's a good idea.
20 pounds of moose, and then you would add another.
Sure, go 20% of that. 20% if you're using, If you're making 100 pounds, 20 pounds.
A nice way to really do it too is take saran wrap, you can roll it, just pop it in the microwave a little bit, and you're going to see that juice content when you cut it through it, when it comes out, and also a flavor profile. A lot of these things the chef's saying he's done so many times, but I know my old man used to like black pepper and garlic. If that wasn't in there, you might as well forget it. So you load up real nice, and he's going to get into the spices, but that's where you can start doing a little taster before you get into that 5 to 10 pounds.
So if you just took a piece and cooked it in a skillet, would that give you an idea?
That's what I do. Whenever I do even this amount, I would just make a patty. While it's still in the mixer, it fries up in a minute. If you're cooking pork and you're using a lot of fat in it, go low heat. You don't want too high of a heat, and that's going to change the flavor. And so then when you're making that sausage and it comes out, if you're going to boil it, you're going to steam it, you're going to grill it, it's not going to taste like it did in that pan. That make sense? Maybe? No?
Yeah.
If we put this on a high heat, we're going to caramelize the fats and the sugar that are in the meat, and it's going to taste a certain way. Once it's stuffed in a casing and we're going to grill it, it's a different kind of heat, it's a different method, and it's not going to caramelize the same way, it's not going to have that same flavor as your tester. All right, here we go. I mean, that's it. Now we can do just about anything with that. That is just 3 spices away from breakfast sausage. If you add some sage, you add some thyme, you add some rosemary, some salt and some pepper, it's breakfast sausage. If you had some caraway, some mace, some garlic, some coriander, you got bratwurst. If you have some chili powder, some cumin, some white vinegar, some black pepper, you got chorizo. It just goes on and on. I mean, once you hit this stage, you got it. You can go any direction you want to go in. And like I said, this is not a recipe. I just ran into the kitchen just before you guys all got here, and I just threw together some spices. This is just some chili powder, some paprika, some cracked black pepper. And I like cracked black pepper because you feel it in your mouth. And I like black pepper. If you don't use it. If you use white pepper, be very careful. White pepper is very, very overpowering. You could use the same amount of white pepper to black pepper, and you'll ruin it. It's really pungent, and I pretty much stay away from it. I know when I started here, we used to use a lot of white pepper and a lot of stuff, and now I don't use it at all. It's just, it makes everything taste the same. So, Again, you could have seasoned this meat before we ground it, and I'm just adding it as is because it's pretend mix.
Is there any difference for like fresh spices or using this stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you use fresh spices, you're going to have to use more.
Okay.
Okay, dried spices are wonderful and they're ready to go. And the flavors are a lot more intense. Fresh, especially fresh oregano, fresh basil. You're going to have to use more. You could put fresh cheese in here right now. You could use a Romano, a Pecorino,
Oh, yeah, sure.
a Parmesan. Yeah. In fact, there's a recipe in that handout for a Sicilian sausage, and I believe it calls for Romano Pecorino. And again, it's in the casing, so that cheese is going to stay in there. And has anybody had Romano cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Very pungent, very strong. It's one of my favorites. You can overdo it.
No, you can't.
Okay, what about apples?
What about apples?
Oh,
Sure,
yes.
sure. You can use apples. You can do. I didn't have any poultry, but I planned on discussing some turkey meat. Turkey is the best meat for poultry sausage. Thigh meat, not breast meat. If you do use breast meat, use, we'll say 40%, almost equal ratio to the white, because white is very dry. You'll notice when you're cooking a turkey, which part cooks faster, even though it's bigger, is the breast. And you always, you tear into that thigh meat, and there's some blood in there. Same with the sausage, but yeah, you can take your apples, onions, pears, potatoes. Yeah, we made a couple times here. We made a Wisconsin potato sausage, and I used pork and beef, but the majority of the ingredient was 20 pounds of potatoes and lots of onions. You're going to get some browning if you're using potatoes. You could buy a commercial ascorbic acid. It'll stop it from browning on you. If you don't, you can't find any, lemon juice. Lemon juice works fantastic. Just soak your apples in it after they're cooked, but then use it right away. But,
Supply.
I'm sorry?
Brewer supplies regularly.
Oh, the,
Beer too, or in my meat,
Right.
3 blend for meat.
You would cook your apples before you put it in the mix?
Say again?
You would cook your apples before?
No.
you put it in the mix?
No.
It's just to keep them from
Yeah.
brown.
And you could take your apple and just run it through the grinder.
Oh,
When I make potato sausage, I'll cut my potatoes up and then I'll grind it right through the machine, just like I would with the meat.
We used a bigger blade when we were doing the potatoes to get chunks of them in
Mhm.
or something.
And the onion, right?
Yeah.
Use a lot of onion in potato sausage. And a lot of caraway seed. It's one of my favorites.
Can you use like maple or anything like that, like for a breakfast sausage?
You could, but you want to stay away from the syrups. It's all sugar. And sugar's going to burn. There's a lot of maple extracts. I know we use one here. I marinate my pork loins in it here. Speaking of pork loin, you could use pork loin for sausage. It's very, very lean. It's almost a white meat. That didn't last very long, did it? So if you're going to use a loin meat on any animal, I mean, if you go to the restaurant and have a ribeye steak, you'll notice it's beautifully marbled. When it comes out, it's tender, it's juicy. And then if you have a sirloin, that's a cut above. It's a lot drier. Could be a little bit tougher, different cut of meat, just because of the fat content. So these gloves are just hiding on me. So we're almost there. We're almost in the stuff stage.
Put some Nidex.
If I got to change these again, maybe Thor. Everybody use gloves at home? I never used to until I started working here. We can just wheel them in here and you put them on that table. Did I understand that right? Yes. Okay, you see the color change? I would say we're about 3/4 of the way there. And I'm not going to keep taking it away because we're not going to eat this. But I just wanted you to see, it didn't take too long. Did everybody see that fat? That is perfect. In fact, well, that might be a little too much fat because we cut a little bit too extra in there just to illustrate a point. But if you've got something like this, you're going to get flare up after flare up after flare up on your grill if you're using an open flame. My preferred method, and I know they call this Wisconsin style, Sheboygan style, is I'll take bratwurst or Italian sausage, saucepan, beer, boil. Then I take them out, and then I continue to boil that beer down, and it turns into a syrup. then I put the brats back in it, and I finish cooking them in it. And that syrup caramelizes on the outside of those brats, and it's fantastic. Once you eat them that way, it's really hard to go back to a grilled brat. Does everybody know what a bratwurst is? Everybody's had a bratwurst, right? No? Never had a bratwurst?
Some people don't
You never
know.
had
They
a
really
Oh, it's
are.
not, they had homemade ones, it's fabulous.
My husband told me I have.
You're about to. I'm going to bring some samples in here and we'll cut them up and we'll pass some sausages around. And I want you guys to remember, I started from this stage. I just used pork and fat and that was it. And then I seasoned after that. And you'll be surprised. If you're going to do this and you're going to mix even before you grind, put it in the fridge 24 hours. The flavor will be a lot more intense. Lots more intense.
Hey, where do you get the tubs? Did you tell everybody already that I missed that?
I'm sorry?
The tubs that you use, where'd you find that?
These are ours. You can get these, I believe, at a commercial restaurant house.
Alaskan Oil Field.
Columbia, I believe.
Get your grinders, Bella's got these grinders too now, they started making a line of grinders.
I haven't looked on the internet for much stuff. You know, I try to garage sales. Perfect place to look for used equipment, and especially in the stuffer department. You can get a 100-year-old stuffer, and it'll be a lot better than something brand new.
Craigslist, you can pick up some nice grinders too. You can pick those up really good.
Where was that?
Craigslist.
Craigslist, you can find them on there.
Does everybody smoke? And I don't mean camels. You guys smoke stuff?
Fish.
You guys got okay. You got a little chief, or I have a brakeman at home. I have 2 brakemans. I don't grill anymore. I stopped grilling about 5 years ago when I was playing around. An old roommate of mine was trying to sell his stuff he was moving. I said, I'll take the smoker. I've never gone back. You can get smoked chips at almost every grocery store. You can special order them online. Tabasco actually sells the busted up barrels that they age the Tabasco in. It's wonderful. I think it's an oak. Yeah, Jack Daniels as well. Jack Daniels as well. And I prefer alder. That's my favorite smoke is alder and apple. You can use hickory. If you're using pork, hickory is wonderful. Mesquite, primarily for beefs. But poultry, applewood and alder is fantastic.
Fish too.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
alder.
don't use mesquite or hickory when you fish if you can avoid it, it'll make it bitter.
Right.
Near dry time when you smoke is a big thing too. You gotta let it dry before you put it in your smoker.
Now, depending on what he just said about letting it dry, that's where we're going to run into trouble. Okay, if let's say this was 50 pounds, and I'm serving it here in this facility, I don't have to cure it, but it makes me feel a lot better if I do, because the last thing I want to do is 800 people going down to medical, and I'm done. I might as well go work at a car wash.
Looks like the same stuff that puts on eggs.
I wouldn't put this on
Yeah,
eggs.
I mean, it's like the
This is, you'll hear,
Doesn't come back to work.
this brand is out of Chicago. We special ordered this. This is very hard to find, especially in this capacity. You can get it on the internet. It's used in bomb making.
Nice.
I've got
I was thinking we'll wind up in a watch list.
I've got an interesting story about a watch list. I was flying from Ironwood, Michigan to Anchorage, Alaska, and my father had made some sausages while I was at home, and I was going to bring some back. We cryovac them. I put them in my luggage. At the airport, they were taking my bags, and all of a sudden the mood changed, and 3 armed TSA people cornered me, brought me into a little room and told me to open my bags. Or they asked me, what's in the bag? I said, socks, clothes, some salamis. And they said, just tell us, come clean, what's in the bag? I said, open it. They opened the bag, and there was 5 pounds of sausage and a couple salamis on top. Just the sodium nitrate from the cure set off the bomb sniffer at the airport. They took my ID, they photocopied it, and they put it in a red book.
Watch list.
I'm not kidding.
So it's not the sausage book you're in, right?
No, it's not. It's not. And it was all because of this. And I kind of thought about that when I was packing my bags, but we cryovac them and I washed the bags off, but it doesn't take much. used in bomb making equipment. It's very poisonous, like I said, 4 tablespoons will kill an average human being. Or the probably 2 would, but this isn't much better. So when you use this,
Kids like it, right?
when you use this, weigh it. Okay, you can get by with any seasoning as is. Throw it in, try it. When you're using Cure, if you use Cure, weigh it. Get it exactly on the knob. Okay, at the worst part, it'll be salty. It's mostly salt and sodium chloride. Thought he was there. And it's only, I believe, 6.45% nitrates. And the second one is a lot higher. And again, that's used for drying hard salamis, anything that's going to sit for 30, 40 days. And then you got to control your humidity and you got to control the temperature. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get yourself sick.
What